What were we talking? Why was I
Okay.
talking about Michael Moore exploding into baloney again?
I don't know.
Oh, we were just talking about politics and shit, and I was just saying we were coming full circle because now politics for everybody is this big entertainment event with like implications, with heavy implications. Like, and the most ironic thing about the whole thing is that I saw there was like a news story. I forget which show was covering it, but they're like, look at this college fraternity house that's half Trump and half Biden, and they have like the flags on either side, and they're like, we could learn a thing or two about this. And I'm like, you motherfuckers, just
but burn the witch.
Oh no, that's just straight up offensive to some people. All right, fine. Are we getting started? Are we starting with that?
Yeah, sure, whatever. What is up, Internet? It is your boys Brando, Castro, and Christopher House. What are you guys? Hope you guys are all doing well. God, we haven't done this in a while.
Yeah, it's been about 2 weeks.
There's been a little bit of a brain fart separation, but it's okay. We're gonna get right back into it. So,
with a new format.
Yeah, called Winging It.
It's not winging it. It's just that we don't want to just cover one show anymore, I feel like, because some shows get a lot of traction and some just don't have any substance at all. So now it's just like not shooting the shit, but just covering a wider variety of stuff.
Yeah, we've seen and heard and watched a lot of things in that, well, at least a comparable amount of things in the last 2 weeks since we recorded a podcast. So we kind of wanted to squeeze as much of it as we could into this recording. So today we're just gonna kind of dabble it up as much as we can. So in the spirit of that, I got a list. I guess we're gonna burn through it. I think I already said burn the witch. This is definitely not gonna be in the order of the list now, but
it's
nobody
fine.
cares, so it's all right.
There's no order.
Burn the witch. So we were interested in seeing this. This is a film adaptation of a sort of limited series OVA, I believe, or limited series manga series that Tite Kubo, creator of Bleach, had created for a studio, or created for Shonen Jump, and then they adapted it for anime. And it's a 3-part. It's a film adaptation as listed, but it is a 3-episode sort of OVA. And we watched it together on your visit down this past weekend. And what were your thoughts? I know that I had a little bit of the pre-context. I had actually read a little bit of the manga before, like, months ago.
Do you know if this goes past where the manga did? Because there's only 3 episodes and they're only 20 minutes each.
No, it's just more as concise, less, essentially.
Okay, because it's just one story. I mean, it really feels like honestly, this is what I wish more shonen style shows like introed themselves as. Like a nice 3-part episode that shows off the entire world, shows off your main cast, and like gives you a good sense of what the world is like and all that stuff.
Okay, so you felt it established itself very well.
It's a really good intro. That being said, not a big fan of the cast members, not a big fan of that's my biggest complaint. Is like the main 2 leads are fine. The style's great. And the animation studio like worked really hard on this, and it shows. So like that's all good and done. But like your main 2 protagonists are like babysitting a really stupid blonde guy, and like that'd be okay if he wasn't shown to be like the lovable idiot when there's nothing really lovable about him, you know?
Yeah, the dude, so it's like his name is Balgo, he's like, he doesn't get, he really doesn't have like a whole lot of dimension to him other than being very giddy, very innocent looking most of the time.
Yeah.
And just kind of a body, like he's just a dude, like without much personality. He's just a friendly guy, so to speak.
But he's not even what's her name? He's not even like Makoto from Kill la Kill, where she's like really supportive and kind of your soul, body, and spirit. I disagree. He just is there.
Not to that degree.
He exists like a dumb prince that you have to bodyguard all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but he doesn't. He doesn't.
You can say the same about Makoto.
No. Makoto. But anyway, what are we even talking about anymore? No, Makoto. So here's the difference: is that a character like Makoto is there to like give you a moral compass of like what is good and what is bad, and like, you know, kind of push you in the right direction. And not only that, but when you're at your lowest point, show you that like, no, the friendship matters and everything. Like, that's all good. But Balgo here, or whatever his name is, Bolgo or whatever, he really comes off like a naive prince, because he just is allowed to exist because of who he is, not what he's done or anything, but like who he is in the canon. And the two protagonists just have to protect him because they are good people. You know what I mean? He's not a interesting character in his own regard. And that kind of extends to the rest of the cast as well, to be quite honest. That might just be because we only get 3 episodes and the show's more focused on action. But even then, they're all just kind of quirky in their own regards. They don't really have any they have their personal motivations, but it's really shallow, and you don't really get time to develop them. So like, nah.
It's a show that doesn't have a lot of time, obviously, to develop itself, or develop with the characters in any sort of meaningful way. But you do get a nice slice for some, like the main 2 girls, Nini and Noelle. You know, their dichotomy is established very quickly, like, which is appreciated, like, right from the get. They proclaim their motivations out. You know, I'm in it for money. I'm in it for glory. You know, and then they just get right to business with regards to the fun. And it's again, it's very quick with its pacing as far as like moving from scene to scene to scene. Which is appreciative, because not a lot of time to cover not a sizable amount of content, but to get from point A to point B. And it's beautifully done, obviously. We mentioned it multiple times while watching it. Studio Colorido, which I mean, our only experience with them since then has been Whisker Away. Up until this point, so far as I know. Did a great job. Very beautiful. Very fluid animation. I know these are kind of stock compliments, but it was really well done, honestly, from a production standpoint. And one of the weird things that kind of occurred to me was I understood it was, you know, a Tite Kubo work, but I didn't realize until like we had Googled it post watching it that it was physically in the Bleach universe. And
I'm surprised anybody has any attachment to that at this point. Didn't that
Bro, it's coming back. Bleach is coming back. He
kind of fell apart, right? Like his life kind of went to shit for a little while. That's why the series. That's why the series went to crap. I thought he got sick and everything just kind of fell apart.
I mean, anybody who does any of these long running shonen mangaka, like I would not blame them
but
for
very
having their
few
life
of
fall
those
apart.
high profile mangaka have like had their series like go on extreme hiatus due to health issues or shit like that.
Yeah. I mean, some of them go. I mean, but he in particular, I don't know if his life went into the gutter for any reason in particular. I mean, he went on to do other stuff. There was another series I'm trying to remember that he did regarding zombies. I'll probably maybe pull it out of my memory banks later. But I mean, I've always loved. I remember reading an interview with him, and it kind of feel like it encapsulated my opinion of him for the better part of forever. And that was that he always wanted to be a fashion designer. And that you see a lot of the in-between covers for Bleach with like all of these crazy outfits. Very, very like chic, modern outfits, like really cool, well designed for like a fashion designed outfits for the cast of Bleach. And I'm like, man, this dude is all style.
Yeah, he kind of falls on a lot of shonen tropes of like, you know, just have a little funny perverted moment here, have a you know, very snarky moment there, stuff like that. Have quote unquote witty dialogue, which is quickly rising in my list of tropes that I just hate from characters that I don't already like. But like I mean, there definitely is that point of like, you literally get this point in the show where you get the round table of, I don't know if they're bad guys or just like the elites of the cast or whatever, and each of them,
I think they're not
right, but it's a
guys.
round table more or less, and each of those designs are like a 4 out of 5 or a 5 out of 5. Like they all rock, and they literally exist just to look cool for like 2 seconds.
They have like awesome intros, like the custom shit, and then all of a sudden it's like
none of them. Like maybe one of them, Blue Hair Man, is consequential, and that's about it.
I feel like Kubo's got like a concept here that, again, it was just like a limited manga series, like a 4-chapter season they called it. That, I mean, they have a second season of the manga being announced that will be like published in Shonen Jump eventually. So there'll be more material to adapt, but like I feel like this concept is like pretty solid. Like it could have a future.
Yeah, it's got some wings. No pun intended. But like,
yeah, it's got some
like,
wings. Yeah.
I don't know. I had the same for the cast. I had the same feeling for them as I had with the cast of Fire Force, where it's like a lot of shallow characters, and the only way you're going to get them to be non-shallow is to have these bigger, almost revelatory moments mid or late season that change your perspective on their quirky behavior. And it's like, I don't know, I think it's really one note, and I think to the point where I mix up a lot of shows that go that way. I think that's the modern I feel like that's the modern mangaka. I feel like, granted, One Piece has been going on for a while and they do it very well, so I'm going to get a bunch of people hating on me for this, but I feel like that's also One Piece's style, where they make up for a character's quirky behavior by having a very traumatic backstory. And people just go, oh, but this relates to me so well, and I don't know why I'm French, but it's
I mean, trauma is
right,
just
and
inherently,
I think I just get
relatable.
bored with it, to be quite honest. Not bored. It's bored, but it's also more so that it's like you can only have so many people write like this until you start being like, okay, I get it. Like, you start seeing the tropes play out over and over again, and ultimately I feel like that's where Burn the Witch sits at. It's like, it's this gorgeous show that just doesn't have any artistic motivation outside of its character designs.
Yeah, that sounds like Kubo's life up until now.
Yeah.
So,
but great character designs. I mean, really freaking solid.
And it was entertaining. That was,
But I think it can stay a 3-part OVA, to be quite honest.
Yeah, that should be plenty, honestly. So
and plenty enough to talk about.
And we're done. All right, now. See ya.
No, we got a list.
We have a list. On the list, one of the things I sent to you was just things we've been watching.
Okay.
Which kind of encapsulates a lot of what's also on the list.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to bounce to what I know you've been watching, at least some of, partially because I've been dogging you to watch it.
It's like,
not out of
House, I need content. Give me content.
I'm like, I'll make some on the side. I got some videos in the pipe, but just
please
podcast material. Yeah. But Deca-Dence.
Yeah, Deca-Dence.
So this series ended very recently, in the last 3 weeks or so, as we enter the fall season and the summer comes to a conclusion. And I'd heard good things. We share a Funimation channel, and by share I mean I bum yours. And
you're the one that has a job too. That's fucked up. Anyway,
I know.
So you finished.
I bum my Crunchyroll too off of someone
else. Well, so you finished. Enough about your bumming. This is a series that you have finished entirely, right?
And you are still.
I'm like episode 6. But it was weird because I watched that first episode and I was like, this is like the midpoint of a Trigger anime. Did Trigger make this? Where's Trigger? Where are you guys hiding at? Where I'm looking under the couch, looking behind the TV. And it's not by Trigger. Lo and behold.
No, it's by Studio Nut.
I'm sorry, I'm a 27-year-old child. Continue.
It's all good. It's a great series, though. It's an original anime series from Studio Nut. And that has a lot of great talent attached to it. I believe like the director is Yuzu Tachikawa, and he did the Death Billiards OVA, which eventually became Death Parade. So another original anime project. I know there's people on it. I know that the composer did stuff from Vinland Saga. I know that there's a lot of great talent written onto it, and I had heard good things. I was like, we gotta fucking make a podcast out of something. So I finished the series. Been trying to get you. I've been dogging you. Not just purely because I think it's a quality show, but mostly because you've been dragging your feet. But in general, what is your impression of the show? I remember I was semi-conscious for you watching the first 2 episodes. I watched you watch like basically almost the full episode. Yeah. Then I slept for a little bit. Then I woke up and it was the end of the second episode, and you were like, "What is happening?"
Well, it goes like it starts at like a brief pace of. I'm going to take like a 5-minute spoiler warning. If you have not seen the first episode of Deca-Dence, go see it. Literally just the first episode, maybe 5 minutes of the second one, and you will be where I'm at in terms of spoilers. So please skip the next 5 minutes or just go watch it. It takes like 25 minutes. But it starts, and it's good. Thank God. But it starts off like, like, oh, here's our protagonist and here's her backstory, and she wants to be a warrior on the front lines of this post-apocalyptic like mecha base,
Yeah, Natsume, right?
Yeah, Natsume, and then it goes through her like first experience on that frontier. She doesn't get involved immediately, but she gets involved later. And
she's a human.
Yeah,
and
it's important to It's important to say that she's a human because at the end of that episode, we find out that most of the warrior race is a bunch of, I think they're androids. Maybe I didn't finish
essentially
it.
So like they're introduced as like, so you have the humans, who are also called the tankers, and then I think they're called the gears.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly, and then the gears are like in Natsume's eyes, a warrior race, designed to fight the Gadol, which are like these evil creatures. I don't know, just evil creatures that are basically a scourge in this sort of post-apocalyptic world, and they live on like what you said, a huge fucking mecha base, which is called Deca-Dence. And Natsume wants to join the fight. Not a lot of humans / tankers get to do that. Eventually, she gets a taste of it, and her, gruff boss from the because she's not a fighter, she's a repair person.
She's a window cleaner, the armor.
She's a glorified window cleaner, scraping off like meat fucking junk from the side of the Deca-Dence. And again, the first episode's paced very briskly but slowly at the same time. There's a lot of like nice little, there's like slow moments where you get to see
it's paced very well, and then right at the end of that episode when they get thrown into the fight, and it's like, oh, lo and behold, her boss is actually a former badass and he knows how to fight. It turns out that her boss is actually controlled in space. I think it is. Are they in space? They're in a spaceship in space.
They're like he's
how many times can I say space?
He's a cyborg in space. Like there's like a spaceship orbiting over the planet, and all of these motherfuckers, like Natsume's whole life is basically inside this biodome, basically on like the better part of Eurasia, I guess. And that the Gadol and the whole conflict that she plays in, that she is involved in, is just a game for the cyborgs that live above, like in space. Like as entertainment,
to more or less be preoccupied with and harvest the energy that the monsters give off.
The action.
But anyway, like, so if any of you didn't listen to my spoiler advisory and you got to this point, and you'd be like, House, you just spoiled the midpoint of a 12-episode show. No, I spoiled the first episode.
Like, that is something I do appreciate.
You appreciate that. Okay, that's interesting. Go ahead.
I think it's an interesting way to play the story out, because it plays out immediately at the beginning of the second episode in like a fucking 5-minute commercial for the game. Like it's not even a dignified like reveal. It's like at the end of the episode, the first one, they have like a sort of like I don't know, like mysterious cliffhanger. They're like, what is this shit? And then like at the beginning of the second episode, it's like, come play Deca-Dence. Everything we told you in the first episode is bullshit.
Yeah,
like, you know,
pretty
like,
much.
and I'm like, whoa. Like the whiplash is intense, and then it like really just kind of the rest of the story needs to pace itself from that perspective, and it does so pretty well. Where there's the two separate angles. Kaburagi, who's sort of, I guess, the real protagonist. I mean, he's like the second co-protagonist.
Well, he's the outside story protagonist. Like there's two storylines going. There's Katsume and there's the redhead
and
girl.
And there's him, yeah. And then you get the cyborg side of things, where you have like the outside perspective of like the game from the perspective of the cyborgs, and then you have and the society there within that wants to control bugs.
Yeah. Well,
and I guess just divergent elements.
When they say bugs, they mean like defective people, more or less. They're using they're using that thing order. Of like, and this is a thing in just in anime, and I'm sure in other shows in general, when they mean something a bit more complicated, but they just keep using a everyday phrase to encapsulate it. So the bugs in this case are just defective persons or cyborgs that are not following the system's guidelines, and it's like, all right.
Yeah. And so he is a bug, I guess, catcher. He is one who like finds people who are deviating or might discover the truth, or people or other fellow cyborgs that are like breaking the rules, and reporting them, basically just being like an admin.
Yeah, pretty much.
And Natsume kind of captures his,
affection, I would say.
He's like, at the beginning of this, he's very apathetic. He is so done with the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because he was he had a past.
Yeah, he has his past, and he has his tragic story of, I let somebody else be a bug in the system, and that caused my whole crew to get torn apart, and now I just work day to day just trying to live my life, and now I have this, little star pupil that's the light of his life now, and is more or less his reason for living at that point. She kind of becomes a daughter figure to him. And
he has like how he gets disenchanted with it though is like, I follow it. Like I follow it pretty well. Like not like
it's easy. It's easy to follow. I wouldn't say it's anything like Starbound or iconic. It's just your standard fallen hero backstory. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where he gets this, seeing this kid through is his redemption. That's the Dark Knight's tale, and it's really
for him,
when a Dark Knight's tale is done really well, it's always a lot of fun. You get stuff like Final Fantasy IV, and Indivisible actually has a really good version of the Dark Knight's tale. So that's always fun. But, that's his story. That's what he's doing.
Yeah, I definitely say this is like a variation of that for him. Yeah, like they were rankers? Like that's what they were called? Like the previous system. And when you were like ranked, they were like basically esports players. Like they were like pro Deca-Dence players.
Yeah.
And it was entertainment for people, and eventually he showed one of the other players to cheat, and but he kind of empathized with that dude because he was like, he understands. It kind of gave him a sense of being, sort of, so to speak. Like
the strive to be the best in that individuality within the system. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and that's what got him killed. And then eventually he's like, I want to. He kind of like the reasoning for dying is like it gives him a choice in the matter, I guess. Like there's like that element of like, I want to be able to at least choose this. But eventually Natsume comes around and just kind of, like you said, like kind of becomes his whole reason for living, and then that kind of centers their relationship until the end.
Until the end.
Still approaching too.
Which I'm approaching. So I'm not a. Do you want to talk about the end? Because I don't care about spoilers. I'm one of those people.
No, it's okay. There's not too much that's by way of revelatory by the end. It is sort of coming to an head. Obviously, there will be some clashings between the two worlds by the end of it all. It's interesting. I definitely think that it doesn't fuck the landing. It doesn't it doesn't botch it.
No,
I think it sticks a solid landing. It's a solid, in my opinion, like 7 or 8 out of 10 show. Not the greatest thing I've seen ever, but like definitely probably one of the top 10 of this year. Definitely for a lot of reasons. The animation is extremely solid. It's a unique story.
Yeah.
I really enjoy the soundtrack. That shit fucking slaps. That shit reminds me, the whole aesthetic of the in-game Deca-Dence world reminds me a little bit, not in any sort of physical sense, to Monster Hunter, but in a sort of spirit.
That's
sense
the
Monster Hunter.
reason. Okay. I see
A little bit.
it.
Fuck
Yeah.
you. Anyway,
How's that new movie trailer, by the way?
horrifying.
Can we talk
and
about
exactly
that?
what I
Because we're
exactly what I expected though.
because we kind of wrapped it up on Decadence a bit, I think, right? So
sure.
Let's move on to the Monster Hunter World trailer because I want to talk
the new
about
Monster
that
Hunter
for a
trailer
bit.
came out.
And
They have
Mila
Mila
Jovovich.
Jovovich.
Yeah, JoJo.
Yeah, and her
My favorite JoJo Part 9 Monster Hunter World.
Jovovich and her husband, who does like literally every Capcom movie under the sun.
Yeah.
Basically all of the Resident Evil movies.
Dude knows how to
which are
make
all her movies, obviously.
Dude knows how to make a budgeted title movie that gets released and makes bank at the box office, not even on resales, because that's what a lot of people don't get is like these companies want the money to be made immediately so that it doesn't feel as much like a risk, and that's what these movies do, you know.
And on top of that, I mean, most of the profit is made, like very rarely is a film's like bulk of its profit made in like the resale market
Nowadays,
it's mostly
yeah.
made even nowadays, honestly.
No,
like,
it used to be okay. Like Street Fighter 2, not the animated movie, the live action movie. Capcom made bank off of selling the rights to that movie everywhere. So that's why you would always
but
see
that's like it's still a very niche situation compared to a theatrical release,
you're
making
right.
your money back. And in general, that was the I mean, this is that dude's fucking like MO. And so like seeing this trailer, just to get to the fucking point,
Yeah.
I'm a huge Monster Hunter fan. I played it fucking since the first one on my PlayStation 2. It was one of the first games I played online in general.
Really? Okay.
And I played with a keyboard on my PlayStation 2, typing into motherfuckers, making sure that they were headlocking these Rathalos properly back in 2000 whatever. And till now, playing Monster Hunter World and blah 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 blah. And so this very nostalgic series I see, and all of a sudden Mila Jovovich is shooting a fucking machine gun at this thing. And I understand the premise. I've read the fucking wiki. I know what the concept is. It's like these people came from the real world and they entered into the Monster Hunter world. And I'm like, okay, that's where Tony Jaa gets to come in with his greatsword and actually pretend to slay something like I imagined it. And the whole thing still is like an aneurysm watching it though. Like, I'm glad, like, it looks like the CGI budget didn't fucking flop. It looks like, you know, Diablos doesn't look like a train wreck when
Diablos
he, like, emerges from the sand.
That being said, it doesn't look anything particularly special. It's against sand, guys. I mean, it's not like, you know, it might as well
sand.
be. I mean, it might as well be
great equalizer.
Exactly. You might as well be behind a green screen at that point. You've got two colors to contrast against, orange and blue.
Oh my god. Anyway,
Oh man. Oh, okay. So
I posted a meme.
Yeah, I saw that.
Because I played that in Peace Walker. Like,
so the meme in question is the Monster Hunter trailer, and below is just a not screenshot, video from the Monster Hunter. What would you call it?
Quest
Easter egg.
from
from Peace Walker.
There's a quest where you fight fucking Rathalos.
It's like a really small Rathalos too, right?
Oh, he's like a little undersized, yeah, but you're just like you shooting him up with a machine gun. And I'm like, oh my god. Anyway, jeez. But
man.
yeah, enough about that. What's next on the list?
Oh, you just want to get away. That's really funny. This movie.
there's not much else.
This
to mention
movie is
about
going to
it.
make so much money. It's going to make so much money. Its
possibly.
plot is going to be dumb short. There's going to be barely any lines, and you know why? Because you gotta sell to China. That's what's gonna make it money. That's what's gonna
I'm
work.
not gonna name any names. But on my Facebook, I seen more positive reacts to that trailer than I care to admit. They're like, "Oh man, this looks great," and I'm like, "Holy shit!"
They know, Brando. They know. This is why we're stuck with like 30 to 100 views, and they get the box office. I know. Okay, let's move on though, because I hear you dying inside.
Yeah, a little bit.
Speaking of dying inside,
this game, dying inside. I have on my list Jujitsu Kaisen.
That's kind of about dying inside. A little bit.
It is kind of like dying inside, you know.
Not watching it. The first episode was really, really fun. I actually really enjoyed it.
Yeah, this going into this season, the fall season of anime this year, Jujitsu Kaisen was a huge hype machine. Like, this has I know not with you in particular, and I don't think we even mentioned.
I didn't know this was going to happen.
Kind of funny, but I had heard things. I don't know why I didn't mention it, but it's a 24 episode anime that's being produced by Mappa, great studio. Talked about it a million times. Don't need to talk about it anymore. But a very popular series from Jump, and yeah, no, I mean, it kind of had a really concise and fun and interesting pilot episode. I mean, you got a lot of sort of atypical shonen bullshit happening, but the aesthetic and the sort of vibe it gave off of very horror, very demon entrenched. I thought it was pretty fun. I like the, how should I say, not just inherently the gratuity and like the graphic nature of like how sort of
show's
disturbing it was.
Yeah, the show's
but
pretty
I enjoyed
graphic,
that.
Yeah, it's very handsy.
Yeah, but handsy.
Yeah.
But no, I like the premise. It's like another sorcery fight kind of series, but it's like also very entrenched in what I feel like is traditional Japanese myth, which gives it that horror vibe, because a lot of Japanese horror is based off of like demonology and stuff.
Now, I'm going to sound like a dumb Westerner here, but is it a play on Jujitsu? Is that the title is trying to get at?
Jujutsu?
Yeah.
It's I don't think it's like, it's not spelled like the martial art Jujitsu.
No, I know that's a
It's
different
like,
word. I'm just saying, is it a play on the word?
I'm not entirely sure.
Okay.
I feel like it's probably a play on something else.
Okay, so we're both dumb Westerners. That's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, I really enjoyed that first episode. I kind of talked about, especially when we're talking about Burn the Witch and other shonen, where it's like, man, you get these protagonists that just either have a backstory and they're quirky with no reason and stuff like that. But, you just kind of get I feel like this protagonist is somewhat relatable outside of his, like, superhuman strength. But even then, he's like...
Yeah, dude is unnaturally fucking fit.
Yeah, the dude is unnaturally strong, but at the same point, it's like, okay, that's just shonen protagonist syndrome there. But for his personality, he's like, man, I just want to go to school. I just want to do my fun after school thing. I don't really have a care about these, these accolades or these goals. I'm kind of... He's not miserable in his disinterest. He's just like not really interested in anything. He's more interested in his grandfather. And then 5 minutes into the show, his grandfather dies. So he needs to find a kind of a new purpose, and he just stumbles across this for his new purpose. And it's like, I don't know, it just kind of makes for a simple and fun and relatable protagonist in my eyes. And I think the immediate superpowers that he gets make for a very cool design with the double eyes, especially considering that you have this whole premise of a world that is unseen. So the fact that you have your main character whose body is now like made of multiple eyes and tattoos that will have to be hidden underneath his own everyday clothes. Like, I think it makes for a cool design, and we'll like to see where this goes.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's a pretty unique premise, and the character itself, Yuji, who's like the protag, he's, like you mentioned, he's a little stock, but he has some nice quirks to him, like, and in writing it out with him, not only from a character design point or perspective, but him himself, I think will be a fun ride, and the world seems interesting, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of the characters, getting more dived into this sort of like, I believe the guy he was helping, like the exorcist, I believe, it's like they're exorcising the demons. Getting more into that society. I'm sure that there's a whole system to go inside with that, and we get to finally figure out about the panda running on the rooftops.
Oh my god, that panda. Yeah, if you don't even watch the show, at least watch the OP for the show. Oh man, that panda. So like, you have all these characters doing all their awesome fighting stances, and you'd been teased about like a panda earlier. He's like looking at himself in a mirror, and it's like, okay. But in the midst of all these people doing all their awesome anime poses, you get this like from a helicopter shot, this panda
yeah, I know, right?
like vaulting between two it's barely vaulting, like he's struggling to vault from one building to the next, and it's like it's the charm. It's the charm of it being so out of place, as well as it being so serious at the same time. It's amazing, and I can watch. The clip of it alone is not funny. It's the hard cut from awesome anime pose to dumb panda barely vaulting over a building from one building to the next.
The contrast was just like caught us all off guard.
It's so funny. Speaking of hard contrasts that make me laugh, you also have on the list here the Misfits of the Devil Academy, I believe.
It's a misfit, singular.
Sorry, Misfit of the Demon Academy, whatever. That's the title of the show.
I think it's Demon King. Fuck it. Wait. People listening to this will know exactly what we're talking about.
So
Misfit of Demon King Academy.
This is a show that ended this season, right? It started and ended last season.
Another summer season show that just ended there. We're just getting to now, honestly.
Oh, man. Okay, so have you watched the whole thing? Have you watched the whole thing? Because I only saw the first 2 episodes.
I have not seen the whole thing.
Damn. Oh, well.
I've seen about, I think if I recollect correctly, about 7 or 8. So a decent chunk of it. Yeah. Almost all of it. And we watched almost all of it at once with Alex in plural.
Okay.
And it is... So I was told from other anime friends that it was like they recommended it to me, because I saw the thumb and the trailer for it, like the PV or whatever, before the season started. I'm like, this looks like dog shit. Fuck this.
Oh yeah, it looks very generic, and for us, that's dog shit. Like,
exactly.
If you are true dog shit, that can come full circle. But
for sure.
But overly generic, like isekai cheat magician or wizard or whatever, like that show is dog shit to us, because it's just nothing, like, brings nothing to the table, has no stellar animation, just
true purgatory,
just hell on earth. And and then that's what this looks like.
And then someone was like, yo, you gotta watch it. And I'm like, come on, dude, you gotta be serious. And they're like, no, for real, this shit is hilarious. And I'm like, all right, if I'm in for the laughs, let's go. And so we watch it, and this show is pretty fucking funny. But I think the best part about, Misfit for Demon King Academy, of Demon King Academy, is that I am still wondering if it's trying to take itself serious or not. like I think that's the biggest talking point. Like, is it really trying to be a hardcore edge fest situation, or is it really a satire but it never blinks? Like, it never gives you the wink and nod, like, to let you know that it's a joke.
I think it totally knows what it's doing, and the reason the reason why, and you said the best part of that was that it doesn't blink, and I agree. It's for those uneducated, it is about a massively overpowered demon lord who comes back after who is resuscitated, but nobody realizes that it's him.
This dude is like mob. He's like he's like
insanely overpowered, and so he is like, "Hey, I'm the demon lord. Okay, cool." But like, they're forcing him to go to school, and he's not resisting it at all. So he's just like, yeah, I'll be a student. I'll grow up like everybody else, even though he has the power to decimate people and does decimate people and then resuscitate them. But like, what makes it all stick and what makes it all work is the editing. The editing in this show is so freaking funny. And I'll try to be specific. In the first couple minutes of the show, your main protagonist encounters the kind of stereotypical snobbish douchey prince who's like, oh man, you're nothing, whatever, and immediately makes him grovel, and that's kind of funny. Okay, sure.
I mean, yeah, the way it goes down is pretty
right
funny.
In that moment, the initial encounter is pretty funny. Hard cut to the next scene where it's like, okay, for the intros for our students, we're gonna have you fight one another, and not even 2 seconds after this man was groveling in front of this demon lord, he comes out with like armor going, yeah man, ready for round 2. And it's like,
you gonna get smacked.
it's so quick. Your brain doesn't have time to process the fact that that guy should not be in this kind of mood. You're just like, wait, what? We're here already? And yeah, it's the editing, it's the pacing, and it definitely has something to do with the writing, because honestly, you could write this show in this way and then put a couple scenes in different places and spread them out a bit more, and it'd be a bit dry. But the fact that it's just so compact and it just like gets right to the point, that is what makes it really funny. To be honest, that first episode was a lot funnier than that second one, although that second one had a few moments. In particular, what happens is you have two female love interests, and one of them turns to the other and goes, hey, do you like this guy? And she goes, yeah. And then when that girl walks away, the girl, the one who asked the question, just takes the guy and kisses her. And I'm like, you bitch. Like, what the shit?
You bitch.
Like, how could you do this?
You were aboard. You were like, fucking girl code, bro.
It's like here's the thing. It's one thing. Oh my god, this is such a tangent, but I'm gonna go on it. It's so diabolical, where you ask somebody like, hey, do you like this person? And then they go, yes. And you can go, well, I like them too, and I'm gonna fight for them or whatever. But you just give no hint of your intentions behind that question.
You sneak that shit,
and you
bro.
sneak that shit, and I'm just like, wow, that's the most evil thing I've seen.
There's T-Bone, that whole situation.
So yeah, I'm probably gonna continue watching that. That was pretty funny.
It's pretty good. It holds up. I up to where I'm at. It's peaks and valleys, but I mean it's still got me entertained at the very least. And I'm probably gonna wrap that up. But yeah, no, Demon King, Misfit of Demon King Academy has been pretty humorous. I'm glad something like that came out, because I honestly don't recollect a whole lot of humor this year from anime. So that was a welcome catch, because Kaguya happened again, and I still haven't finished the second season. And from what you and other people told me, it's like, yeah, it's still Kaguya, but like, yeah, a little whelmed, not overwhelmed or anything like that.
It lost its edge a little bit.
Yeah. But besides that, not too much else on this list. I could stretch it out a little bit further.
No, we're still trying to catch up with the newer shows, so we haven't really gone into anything else, unless you've seen something that I don't know about.
I have watched some of these are new. Jujitsu is new, and etc. I have watched the first episode of the remake of Higurashi, which has been a blast. We're gonna watch the second episode today later. We being some of the guys, and I want to do a video on Higurashi for the channel later. So
okay, so we're gonna keep that secret.
Well, too bad I announced it. Yeah, not too much else. I can no longer wait for you, and I have watched basically the remainder of Millionaire Detective.
Oh my god, have you watched the rest of it? Is it over now?
At least I watched up until episode 10. I see an 11 listed, and I assume a 12 is coming.
Has it kept up its pace?
It has changed drastically.
Oh, damn it. In a good way?
It is debatable.
Okay. Damn.
But it's not like an anthology case situation anymore. It's like,
no, it's just this is the bigger crime spree that we're gonna try to take down or something like that.
Kind of. There's a one big case.
Yeah.
There's drama.
Does he keep using fuck you levels of money?
I mean, yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, that's acceptable then. That I can live with. So I'll have to catch up on that, because that was. Whoo boy, that was probably some of the funniest bits in those first 2 episodes, was when he just buy everything and solve the
good cases,
solve the problem with money.
But like, I think half of the season is like funny, like whatever the happens situations, and then this back half is like all one case. It seems like. Okay. So, all right. Good and bad. I feel like I'd like to. Well, I'm gonna finish it out and see how it sticks to landing. But overall, still enjoy it mostly.
Okay, that's cool. All right. Anything else you've seen, or should we wrap it up here?
I think we'll wrap it up for today. I think there's not much else that's coming to mind, so it can't be too important.
Okay.
But yeah, no, thank you guys for listening, joining us for another episode of the Otaku Remix Podcast. If you guys enjoyed it, as always, hit the like button, subscribe. We always appreciate the love. If you drop a comment on anything we talked about today, we'd love to chat it up. Chris, what is the Twitter?
Twitter is at the Otaku Remix on twitter.com. I'll try to be more active with it now that we're actually producing stuff. And you can also find me at Houseman2593. I mostly just retweet stuff about the FGC and promote my own commentary. So if you're into Street Fighter or other stuff, feel free to follow me there.
Yep. I need to get Twitter eventually, because it's 2020.
Absolutely.
But I think that's all we have for today. So guys, thank you again. Have a good day, have a good life, and we will see you all on the next one.